I think part of my story is I'm one of 8 kids, and I grew up on a hog farm in the, I'm going to say middle of nowhere, lovingly flyover country in Arkansas. And I learned hard work. And my daddy is a pastor, and I learned keep your heart in the right place and work really hard, and you can pretty much do anything that you want in life. And I think those are, you're going to hear me probably talk a little bit more about values later, but getting really clear on that's who I was early in life really helped me take off and go do some things. And so I knew that I, as much as I appreciate my background, knew that I did not want to be a farmer. And I knew that I didn't want to live in my small town forever. So from a pretty early age, I decided that I was gonna I was actually thought I was going to be a doctor. So I started out as a biology chemistry double major, and then was fortunate enough to get some agent to put a door on the rental house that I was in that said, "Why are you renting this crappy place when you could be buying?" And there's a picture of a new house.
Yeah.
Um, why, when you could be buying this and owning this. And so I called very green and just said, what would it take? And so I ended up buying my first house at 18, worked 3 jobs to qualify to do that, and then put law students in to pay the mortgage. They were quiet. I figured they'd be studying all the time, so that I could, invest in my first property. And then later on, when I closed on the house, the listing agent knocked on the door to tell me he's going to take the sign out of the yard and the lockbox off. And we struck up a conversation, and he said, uh, "Have you ever considered selling real estate?" And I said, "No, tell me about that. Why do you think I'd be good at that?" And he said, "Well, you seem to be good with people." So I kind of accidentally stumbled into real estate as a way to pay my way through college. And it turned out that I was good at it. I got to help people. It was never life threatening. So I decided I didn't want to pursue medicine, that I would make real estate my career. So I took off really fast because I had to, honestly. I had bills to pay. Um, I just have a lot of responsibility in life. So if I'm going to do something, I work really hard. So that hard work hack that I applied just really, really paid off in the real estate field. Fast forward, I eventually opened my own company. I was started with a traditional firm, eventually opened my own company because I was paying that firm so much money. And I just thought, why not? I can save some money, make a lot of business mistakes if
Right.
I
Yeah.
need to learn while I'm, not paying for the same amount of money that I'm paying the other company. Might as well. That would give me some room to make some mistakes. And then and that was in 2005 that I did that. And then the market shifted. So that's kind of
A little bit.
yeah, a little bit. So at that point in time, I had a property management company in a boutique firm. And then I got really sick. So we might want to talk about that at some point, but I got really sick. My immune system attacked my spinal cord, paralyzed me from the waist down. At that same time, I had decided that owning a real estate boutique kind of firm on my own was kind of for the birds. I didn't really love the management of that, and I didn't know a lot of the business hacks. So I decided that I would just move my team back to another company. And as God would have it, I ended up moving it to a company where the owner of that company was an active duty reservist and felt that he was going to get called up to Afghanistan and asked if I would buy him out. So I bought out his company. So he had 2 brokerages. So at this point, now from 2005 to 2010, I've opened a real estate company, opened a property management company, and bought out 2 companies. And like the market still keeps like
So
not going in the right direction.
go back to the paralyzed part. So
Yeah.
where's that? You're paralyzed from the waist down through this whole thing?
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, when I decided I was going to buy out those franchises, I didn't know how bad it was. I knew that like I had to go to the hospital and like have some tests done, and I was going to need to be put on IV steroids, and I had a spinal tap, and then I was going to have some home health care for like 7 days. And we thought that like that would just fix my problem and I'd be onward. And so I had scheduled my closing to close on the companies that I was buying, but couldn't make the closing. So I had a runner that worked for me who was a notary to help my real estate transactions keep moving forward. And so I sent him to get the paperwork, and he brought me the paperwork and notarized it with me laying flat on my back in the hospital bed. And then that became a much bigger deal. I ended up at Johns Hopkins and ended up going through a bunch of chemo, went bald. Like that's a whole nother whole nother story. But that's having the medical background that I did and being so interested in math and science and the connections that I had later would serve me in that moment, right when I needed it. So I was out on 2 occasions for 6 months each time to get treatment and to get healthy again. Today, I'm perfectly fine. Thank God. It was a little small for small and big miracles, right? And so yeah.
So what's your mindset and thinking through all that? And I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this question, but like you're building, you're in the middle in a 5-year span, you're building 4 or 5 businesses, getting them off the ground.
Yeah.
And then you get hit with, oh, by the way, you're paralyzed from the waist down. Like what's going through your head at that time? Is it like push through, persevere? Is it, oh God, is it?
Several things about that to unpack, but my first thing was I don't like to live my life with regrets. So what do I do and who do I need to be in this moment such that regardless of the outcome of this, I know that I was true to myself and was choosing my path all along. So I sought out the best doctors in the world. I networked until I got cell phone numbers and I called them and asked them to take me as a patient. I said, what are the most aggressive treatments for this? What is like the thing that I could do that would be most likely to help me live a life that this isn't a limitation? And they gave me some options. And then I actually did all the research on the back end and then had to convince them to put me in those options. And because of that, today I'm walking and you would never know anything was wrong with me. I mean, it was just a like, this is about whether I end up paralyzed or not. This is about doing what I can do in the moment to create a different possibility. And by the way, my family was scared for me to do that because the treatment that I chose to go through could have and almost did kill me. But it had never killed anybody to that point. So I thought, I'm a survivor. So I'll pray and I'll make it through that. And so that's what I chose. I chose to do something very aggressive, very against the grain, not just band-aid it, but like go in and do what I needed to do to create a different possibility. And I think that's a pattern in my life of like, when somebody said something can't be done, well, wait a second, has anybody ever done it? Is there any chance that there could be a different possibility?
Right.
Okay, let me focus on that and take steps in that direction. The scariest part of that wasn't the paralyzed part. The scariest part is as they were trying to band-aid it, they were treating symptoms of things, and I ended up on 22 prescriptions, and my mind was really cloudy. And it's one thing to have your livelihood and your experiences in life be from a limitation of maybe not being able to walk. It's a whole nother experience when you can't think. When I couldn't finish a sentence, when I couldn't, at the time my son was 6 years old, and to not be able to carry on a conversation with him or to think about what it would be like if I couldn't help him think through things. I can make money from a wheelchair. That was not, did I want to? Of course, nobody I think would choose that. However, the scary part wasn't the paralyzed part. The scary part was the thinking part. So that's like, we need to find a way through this because this can't be the solution.
So fast forward, now you are an executive MAPS coach.
Yeah.
So the coach of the coach. And how do you end up through all that? And now you take the path of investing in other people. Like, I know your heart. Everybody else, I've learned your heart. We've been meeting together for 6 months now, every week. I know who you are and what you're about. And explain it to them, that transition going from building to serving other people.
Yeah. So life circumstances come to us, and like I feel like I'm a creator of my environment. God gives me the pieces, and then I step into them, right? Pray and move your feet, kind of a philosophy about life. And back from when I was doing the chemo, they told me I wouldn't be able to have more children, and I really had in my heart, God put a desire in my heart to have more kids, and a belief not just a desire, but like, I believe that God was going to use that through me, and that's a whole nother thing, but I wanted to have more children, and I needed to create the space in my world to do that. And I'd come to KW doing the role that you're doing as a team leader. And then I had stepped into a regional role, which is actually where you gave me a lot of credit on the GCI part, but it was my regional role that really caused that.
Yeah.
It wasn't me actually out selling houses myself. It was me being in business with players that did that, in recruiting them to a vision. But then I decided that I wanted to have more children, and in conversation with my husband, we wanted me to be doing less on the road. And I'm a driver of things, just
Yeah.
at heart. But if I wanted to have more kids, I needed to be able to be present. So I quit the regional director role, and we decided to have more kids. And about at that same time, this opportunity with MAPS, I had been tapped on the shoulder because of my performance in the KW leadership roles they asked me if I would pour into other leaders as a leadership coach. And so that's how I started in the coaching realm. And then, of course, if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to work hard at it, and I want to be the best at it. And so I sought out training both inside and outside KW to step into the coaching side. And it's really just a continuation of that heart to serve others, from like when I was a little girl deciding I wanted to go into medicine, to helping people buy and sell homes, to starting a brokerage, to moving to KW to help people build their careers through the team leader role, to that regional director role, helping big producers take their business and level them up really fast, to now being able to, I mean, I'm so blessed. If you're going to have a job, this is in my opinion, the best one in the world, because I get to have that kind of butterfly effect, because I'm coaching leaders who are big thinkers, big hearted servant leaders that then take where I'm maybe stretch their thinking or help them see their blind spot. Then they're able to go increase their impact and their influence to help others too. So it's just a really big blessing to get to do what I do every day.
And who you coach, so you're coaching not only other leaders, but you're coaching a wide array of millionaires and $150 million producers in the real estate world. Like, what makes, let's just use the word, I'll use the word rich. So like, what makes rich people tick? Like, what is that niche? What gets them out of bed and gets rolling? Because I know you see that there's got to be common denominators.
Yeah, there are. And I will say that the people that I coach are a specific niche of rich people, meaning they are self-made rich people. I don't think I have anybody on my roster that was born rich. Everybody that I coach is powered by a big why to create a legacy for their families through serving others. So that's what makes it a good alignment with a client for me. And I would say what makes them different is they are very clear on their values, which makes their decisions, whether it be in personal life or professional life, very, very easy. They know what drives them, and they are constantly stepping in that direction. It's not always the most popular thing. It's not always the easiest thing, but they're clear on their values. They know where they're going. And if it's in alignment with their values, they're going to step into it with belief, even in the face of everybody telling them why they can't, and they're going to hustle to get it done. So that's, I would say they're very clear on themselves. They're very clear on where they're trying to go and the purpose for which they're trying to go there. And so the reasons or the limitations along the way they're not even relevant to them, because they only think in terms of possibility of creating that thing on the end.
Yeah, makes total sense. I've also found too that when things that come up aren't in alignment with their vision and goal and where they're headed, it's much easier to say no.
Oh, sure. So yes equals no, and no equals yes. The great equalizer is 1,440 minutes. That no matter who you are, that's all you get in a day. But we all get the exact same numbers. It's not like you had 1,300 and I had 1,440. Nope. We're both on the same timing, right? And so the more clear I am on the values, the more I know what I'm going to say yes to and what I'm going to say no to. And when I say no to something, that allows me the space to go to say yes where I'm really aligned. And I think that's the power of being clear.
Yeah. Clarity causes movement is how I learned it a long time ago. So there's a lot of agents watching, but there's also a lot of non-agents watching. So what's your one piece of advice or action step for the real estate agent that's listening? And then what's your one advice and action step for somebody that may not be a real estate agent that's listening?
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same thing. We're at a time in real estate where a lot is shifting and moving, and some real estate agents, if you've been around for a minute, like me, you will have seen the last shift. So you kind of know, like, just take a deep breath and keep moving forward. But here's the thing. People still want to move forward in their life at all times. I truly believe that. I believe that deep down, we all have goals and dreams, and life may have taught us not to share them. Life may have adjusted us back into being reasonable, but we all have something that we want, with that if we weren't afraid, we'd go try. And so for a real estate agent, so let me say this. If you are not in real estate, what is it in life that you once wanted, or maybe you still want, but you kind of stopped moving on because the timing wasn't right, or you had concerns, you had some kind of hesitation about it? I would say for that, go find people that you could trust as consultants to help you address those concerns so that you can keep it moving forward. That makes sense? Like when I was sick, I knew that I wanted to create the possibility of walking again. So I couldn't sit, like if a doctor told me, here, go to this support group, I couldn't let that be the only answer, the final answer. So I sought out doctors that could maybe say yes. You ever heard, don't take no from somebody that can't tell you yes? Like, that's what I was looking for. Like, who are the experts that are actually in this field, doing the research, that could possibly create another scenario for me? And I was persistent to go find them and listen to them and do what they said, and sometimes even challenge them. No, I want to do that. Right.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't matter if it's real estate or anything else, if there's something in life that you really want to go toward long term, don't wait on the timing to be right. Go find someone that can help you confidently take those steps in that direction now, today. But start stepping. If you're in real estate, just understand that clients still want to move. People still want to own homes. They still want to own nicer homes. They still are getting job transfers. They need to move. And there's a lot to be concerned about right now. If you're turning on the news or you're listening at all, even on social media, rates are higher, or the economy's unstable, whatever, inflation. There's lots of fears that we could have and that could trip us up. But a good real estate agent will go in and will understand the goal of the person and will help them present options to them for them to still move forward to what they want. And it doesn't have to wait a long time. Those steps can be taken now. There's lots of creative things that we can do. And it's the real estate agent's job, in my opinion, to be the consultant for those things. Like, what is it that the client wants? What do they really want to accomplish? And are we asking enough questions? And when you don't know the answer, say, I understand where you want to go, and I don't know exactly how to get us there, but I'm going to go find us some experts that can help me help you get there. And then you know, right? And then you can help the next person easier. But we're totally, I would say, as a whole, as an industry of real estate professionals, missing the boat on listening and consulting our clients to where they want to end up.
No doubt. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I heard Gary Keller say one time, when he was building his business, he never worried about the persuasion of getting people to work with him. He said, I was just relentless at hunting down and finding people who wanted to work with me. And that's how I created my clientele base. And that was it. He said, I was relentless with finding those people. And that's all I spent my time doing.
And you know what? When you get really clear on your values, back to that for a second, when you get really clear on your values, you'll start to become a magnet for other people that are either exploring what their values are or also very clear that they're in alignment with you. The more clear you are, the more clear you help others around you get. Does that make sense? So like I've heard Gary talk about, this concept of big why, which most people know inside and outside. Just like, for what purpose are you going to do that thing? What really drives you? What gets you out of bed in the morning? Like when things get hard, why would you keep going? And that's really important to understand. Start with why. There's tons of books on that. But this concept of, if you're not clear about your why, just go spend time around people that inspire you, that are clear about theirs, and hang out with them and stay close to them and listen to how they think. And eventually, like, either you'll be in alignment with them, or you'll decide, you know what, I was inspired by that up to a point, and here's where I started to differentiate. And so it'll start helping you see, well, okay, I was originally attracted to that because of this, and this, but then here's where I started to have my own unique value system, or my own unique way of thinking about this. And so I'm a little bit different than that. Does that make sense? It'll help you see what you are and what you are not.
So essentially, when you get around people who are crystal clear on their why and what they want to do and their values, what they want to accomplish, even if you don't have one, being around that essentially helps you build one.
Yeah, it helps you choose. It's like a before and after picture. Or, like if I were to show somebody 3 exteriors of a home and say, pick one, it's easier for them to say, I don't like the blue one, I don't like the red one, I really like this white house.
Yeah.
Versus if I were to say, what's your favorite color of house? Well, I don't know. I kind of like white houses. I kind of like green houses.
Right.
I mean, like, what shade of white? Like I'm remodeling a house right now, and I tried 20 whites. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, just give me this or this. Once we got it there, it was much easier,
Yeah.
And you don't have as much decision fatigue, because you're looking at it and you're saying, is that who I want to be? Is that really my thing, or is it not? Right. So the more you're around people that are clear, you can start to calibrate your own based on that.
Yeah. So you said this was going to be your hardest question that I asked you. And I'm going to say this, The Intentional Legacy by David McAlvany, you recommended this book to me 2 weeks ago. I think we met, and I think I read it in 2 days. I couldn't put it down. So this is probably top 3 most influential books that I've ever read. And thank you for giving it to me, or pointing me in the direction of getting it and ordering it, reading it. It's an awesome book. I want to know, and they want to know, what is your most influential book that you have ever read? And you're not allowed to say the Bible, because that's obvious.
Yeah. And I told you it's going to be a game time decision, because even right now, I'm a reader. And so I have lots of books that have definitely influenced the way I have thought. I'm going to give you 2, and I'm going to give you 3.
Do top 3.
No,
do a top 3.
I'm going to give you 3 because the top 2 may or may not be relevant to your audience. And I think the third one is relevant to everybody, but it's also a very technical, tangible book. The third one is a book called Leadership and Self-Deception. And that is good for everybody to read. And it's kind of about how we experience ourselves in a certain way. We perceive ourselves in a certain way, and that may not be what's actually coming off, and we may be getting in our own way. So that's a really good book. The 2 books that probably, when you said I couldn't say the Bible, there's 2 books that helped me really start to dig into like some of my developmental stuff and figure out, like, get really clear on my values and who I am and why I am the way I am and that sort of thing. And honestly, rooted in Christ. 2 are Search for Significance. Please do not ask me who wrote that. Again, I read lots of books, and I'm not a great.
We all have Google.
Okay, what'd you say?
I said we all have Google.
Okay, The Search for Significance, and there's a workbook that goes with it. Really, really good. And there is a book, absolutely nothing to do with business. And I don't know how it would land, honestly, for the men that are listening in, but the book that taught me to love reading, I think, other than Bible, when I would go there when I would need something, is a book that's written by Francine Rivers called Redeeming Love. And that I choose that book now because I realized that I was holding on to a story that I wasn't worthy of love, which is, that really ironic part about that being the case for me is that my name is Amanda. It's what my mother chose, my mom and dad chose for me. And it literally means worthy of love.
That's crazy.
And Redeeming Love is biblical fiction. So it's an easy read, but it's really about what is the meaning of love and what is the source of love and how the character in the book can't experience love and can't receive love, and she rejects love and that sort of thing. And most people, I can't even believe I'm saying this on here, most people would not have guessed that about me. I moved forward pretty boldly in life, but that is something that I have really struggled with, feeling like I was worthy. And that book really helped me to dig into really key alignments with God, honestly. Probably not the direction you thought I was going to go, but it's influential. I think I read that book in like less than a day. I literally could not put it down.
I learned 6 months ago that you're the boss.
Well,
so
you've given me parameters on my favorite books, but you did not.
If that's the book you suggest, that's the book you suggest. I'm not touching it. So I cannot thank you enough for spending 30 minutes with me and with the listeners. And it was such value. And seriously, thank you for being the inaugural guest. And anything I can ever do for you, I will. And because I know you do the same for me. So thank you so much. And I can't wait to see you Friday.
Yeah.
We'll be in there.
Sunny California.
I'll be in there in Anaheim, California. I look forward to it. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Amanda, thank you again. Daniel, thank you for running all this stuff and making it look good. Stay tuned for one more minute as soon as I cut off and get the preview of who's coming next week. Thank you guys. Love you. See you next time.